Let go.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today, this one's for all my onces. Hey, this one's for all my onces who won't get lit as what? Hey, come on now. Honestly, I don't think this needs an intro. Today, we are doing a nail art tutorial based on the absolutely iconic new Twice music video this is for. Let's get into it. So the first nail we're going to get into is actually the index nail, and as you can tell from the montage you just watched, of course, the shape that we're working with today is duck nails. It's giving vintage, it's giving fun, it's giving culture. Okay, if you don't like duck nails, then this isn't for you. But we're doing duck nails, and as you could also probably see in like the thumbnails and stuff, the thumb has a little peekaboo moment that we'll get to later. Spoilers. So I gave all the rest of the nails a cute little red glittery bottom. That is an extra step. That's step 0, if you will. But if you don't want to do that, then step 1 is a cherry red base. And then you're going to top that base with a gold glittery top coat. And then here's where we get to the fun part. So originally I just grabbed my big old plastic gemstone looking things, and I literally, the plan was just to have no plan. So I ended up putting a bunch of white rhinestones at the bottom to look like a chunky French tip, and I added a red gemstone right above that just for a little flair. And then for a little vintage denim moment, I added 2 denim jewels at the top to look like horns, and I adhered that all with a dotting tool that had tack on it. And I actually used regular nail polish instead of gel nail polish because I wanted it to adhere from underneath, and usually gel you need the light to cure it, but obviously the light can't penetrate through the gemstone, so I sort of used regular nail polish as like a glue. The next nail we're doing is the pinky because it's very similar, and we're going to recreate those little bonnets that they have on. At first I thought they were do-rags. They low-key look like do-rags, but they're not. I was analyzing them. They're not do-rags. So after we get our little red sparkly bottoms, that's step 0, we really want to capture the texture of the little bonnets, which is something that we didn't do in the last nail. So we're going to start off with a nude base actually, and the red that I've been using in the video is actually a mixture of reds. So you're going to take a bunch of different shades of reds and draw lines vertically and horizontally across the nail. If they look messy and stringy and ununiform, that's great. That's the point. Just like make as many lines as you can, but still being able to see enough of the nude base in between the boxes that you create. And then you're going to use the main red that you usually use, which for me is a mixture, aka the color of the actual bonnet, and you're going to put a very, very light coat on top of the whole thing. That way it'll look like the fabric of the little bonnets. And then to replicate the little trinkets and doodads on top, you're going to add the same gold scattered top coat that you used before. And then using the same method that we did once again on the index nail, you're going to add 3 white rhinestones on the outer bottom corner. And then you're all done. Ba-doom-bing. For our ring nail, I really liked the amount of like textures and layers they had. The clothes they had was very baggy, but also a little cinched because everything was tied back. I thought it was really cool. So I wanted to replicate all those layers and fabrics into this nail. So as always, we start with our red glitter bottom, but then we're actually going to have a nude base. And then we're going to make a chunky French tip. That's honestly optional, so maybe I'm going to make that like 1.5, step 1.5. Since it's chunky and since it's really not even going to be seen, you can just drag your white nail brush across the bottom of the nail if you want to. If not, it's probably going to be covered anyway. But how we make our little fabrics that's layered on top of the nail is you're going to take a bunch of different colors that you see in the music video, and you're going to take another nail art brush. It could be raggedy. Honestly, a raggedy brush would help you in this case. And you're just going to diagonally drag it across the nail in a few different colors. It doesn't matter if it's messy, it doesn't matter if you layer it on top of each other. You can make it go in different directions. As long as it goes across the nail, that's the goal, because we want to make it look like fabric. So step 3 is going to actually be outlining each color you did in the order that you did them to make them look like tangible different objects. And if you look closely, you can see me adding little lines to the outline to sort of look like little frays, to make it look like the fabric is actually frayed in some places. And then we're going to finally cap it off with our final little bonnet. And then in order to make the little ties, the little straps that hang down on the bonnet, you are going to need to take another piece of like plastic or glass or something. I used the top of my nail polish bucket, and I just painted 2 raggedy lines next to each other and let it dry and or cure completely so that you can peel it off, and then adhere it to both the top right and the top left of the nail to look like the little ties that go on the end of the bonnet. I'm going to draw a little, basically like the frown. Imagine a smiley face. Now make a frowny face. Yeah, okay, so you're gonna make a frowny face or like a sideways crescent near the top of the nail, not directly at the top of the nail, but like a little below the top of the nail. And then everything above it, you're going to paint red. If you want it to look, this is going to be our bonnet, so if you want it to look like it has holes in it, or if you want it to look like genuine fabric, you could leave some gaps in it, or you can like add some lines with darker shades of red. Go crazy, girl. And then you're gonna cover all of that, all of the bonnet, with gold scattered glitter top coat. And then you're all done. Okie dokes, I know what you guys are here for. This is for the middle nail, and what you're here for. Okay, are you ready? Let's get into it, because obviously we're going to start off with step 0, our regular bottoms, but you're actually going to buff and brush these nails because we are using builder gel. Quick PSA, do not use this unless you have gloves. If you don't have gloves, don't use this. This is these are very serious chemicals, okay? You can and will contract contact dermatitis, and that is not something you want to mess with, okay? There's a whole bunch of risks and physical harm come with using just plain gel top coat by itself, but using builder gel, you gotta be 500 layers of stupid to think that's okay. So use gloves, please, thank you. But first, we're going to be making our cake piping that goes all around the nail except for the top left of the nail. So you're going to do this by rolling a small bead of builder gel and placing it somewhere along the perimeter, not the top left. And then you want to use a silicone tool that most of them come with, and you're going to smooth it down into more of a slope. Alright, you get me? Now you want to take a sharper tool and carve lines into the bead so that it looks like, you know, the texture of like piping. Make sure the moment that you are satisfied with that shape, cure it immediately. I cannot stress this enough, dude. Builder gel self levels. I promise you, builder gel self levels, and those lines will be gone by the time you get your second bead on there. So don't even wait, just cure the first one if you know it's gonna look good. And then you start the next little piping hump by putting another bead, overlapping it by placing it on the lower side, and you just keep repeating that process over and over again around. But of course, you're going to leave the top left corner open. The second thing we're going to create is the cherry that goes on the cake, and that is super simple. What you're going to start off is by rolling a tiny little stick. You know how to make a stick? Rolling a tiny little stick, or like a snake. Make sure it's straight. Maybe you can make a little curve, but like, you know, rolling a stick and then rolling a ball, and then with that silicone tool, once again, you're going to poke a dent into the top of the ball, and you're going to cure both of them. Then you're going to take the stick, you're going to put the top of the stick inside the dent of the ball, and boom, you got a cherry. But how do you make it look like it's supposed to be on top of the cake? Great question. So you're going to roll another ball, a smaller ball, and you're going to squish it into the bottom right corner of the nail. Not like on the piping, but like next to the piping, obviously, because you should already have your piping together. You place it there, and then you want to place the cherry right on top of it, squishing it down, and that'll make it look like it's squished into the cake. You get it? And then you want to take that silicone tool again, and you want to use it to smooth the seams in between the smush gel and the nail so that it looks like it's connected. And then finally, one that I don't think I caught on camera, but maybe I did, you want to create the bite in the cake, in your cake nail, and you do this by making another really small ball, and you're going to flatten it down and put it in the top left side, the part that doesn't have piping. And then with your pointy silicone tool, you're just gonna keep poking and pushing it into the nail until you get these divots right next to each other that look like a bite mark. And those are your 3 3D elements. After this, we can get into the actual painting, thank God. You're going to paint the piping light brown, just for dimension, and then you're going to paint, and then while that dries or cures, you're going to paint the cherry red, the stem, you can paint it green or brown. I think I painted it green. And then everything else is going to be pure white. The white on top of the brown will give it a little bit more dimension, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, we still have our bite mark. So you're going to paint the inside of the bite mark a light brown, a little cakey color. You might need to mix it up. But of course, you know, most cakes have icing in the middle. So you're also going to paint like some sprinkles, like a line of white inside of the bite mark if you want to, just for added pizzazz. And then what you want to do, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty, you're going to take a small nail art brush and our same red paint that we've been using for this entire time, and you're going to draw "This is for" in the middle in red. Make sure that the T is actually cut off by the bite mark, just to make it look a little cuter, make it look like the cover. And then you're practically done. Except you don't just want to cover this all in top coat before we leave. You actually want to use matte top coat. The only thing you're going to cover in regular top coat is the cherry and the inside of the bite mark. Everything else is going to be matte top coated. Are you ready to get into it? Our thumbnail of our thumbnail. So obviously for our thumb, we're going to start out with the underside because that is the thumbnail of the video. This is for all the part of the underside that your nail would not be going onto. Obviously, you're going to paint it white, and with a small nail art brush, black paint or polish, and a whole bunch of patience, you're going to write the words "This is for" in the same font as you see on the thumbnail of the video. Then you're going to take a silver or gemstones if you want, but I think they use silver. You're going to draw silver dots around the words. And now you're going to flip your nail over, allow that side to dry or cure, while you start on the top of the nail, aka, you know, the part that people actually see. So for the top, we're going to have a nude base. And then, like the other nail, we're going to have a chunky French tip, which is very forgiving. So you don't really even need a nail art brush. You can really just use the regular white brush that you could just use the regular brush that nail polish comes in, and in white you're just going to drag it along the top. If you want the sides to be higher, you can make it higher. If you want the middle to be lower, you can make it lower. A chunky French tip is very forgiving because if you keep adding on, it'll just get chunkier, and hey, that's the goal. And then I want you to go on google.com and type in twice logo. That cute little swirly T is what we are going to be drawing on that chunky white part in red. Then finally, as just like a last minute thought, we're going to draw a heart in the top left corner in red by making 2 little dots and then tying them together and then dragging them down to a point. This one's for all the nail art that's looking good as well. So what do you think? Did I nail it or fail it up? Hey! Did you hear that? I was kind of spitting bars. I don't think you could say that I failed that because honestly, I got rhythm, I got bars. You could never. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Therefore, I think I nailed it 100%. Please, if you agree in the comment section, tell me, like and subscribe. If you disagree and think that I failed it, go ahead into your settings and click delete account. JK's just kidding. But thank you so much for watching. This was so much fun. I feel like I haven't made like a genuine tutorial in so long because I know that people don't actually follow these tutorials, but they're actually really fun. And you never know. You never know whether people might want to follow these one day or take inspiration one day. And so, you know, it's good to just make things that you think nobody will watch because somebody will. You're watching this right now. And thank you very much for watching this. Thank you very much for staying, and thank you very much for maybe liking the video and subscribing if you don't mind. Either way, I had so much fun making these. I love Twice. I can't wait for their next big thing. I recently saw the Kpop Demon Hunters in theaters after seeing it a million times on Netflix, and I'm obsessed, and I love their version of Takedown. It's absolutely incredible. Jiho is 100% roomy, and it was absolutely amazing, so I love Twice, and I was super excited to make these nails. I hope you enjoyed watching me make these nails, and I hope you will like and subscribe, and I hope I'll see you in the next nail art video. Goodbye.